Somewhere, right now, a kid is being called a genius because they played a beautiful serenade at the age of 10. Someone else is being called gifted because they solved a complex math equation. Talented, gifted, genius. These words are seen everywhere in social media posts, news headlines, even documentaries. All used to describe people that are amazing in their field. Especially 7-year-old Chinese kids that do what you can do 10 times better. But that brings up the question, does talent actually exist? Is anyone truly born good at something? Is that 7-year-old just outright better than me in every single way imaginable? Or is it something else entirely? On one side, people say talent is everything, in reference to people like Albert Einstein and any outright genius that appears a couple times in history. And others say the idea of talent in that sense is a myth. Yet both are incorrect and fail to paint the entire picture. Miss key parts that lead to this pick a side type of logic. So to prove both incorrect, I decided to determine whether it would be possible to become as intelligent and innovative as somebody like Albert Einstein, or is it outright an impossible dream? If talent is a complete myth, then in theory it should just be a question of time and effort. Countless hours of reading and learning physics, math, and expanding my brain with enough practice, and boom, I should be Albert Einstein in the flesh. If talent is everything, then it doesn't matter what I do. If I wasn't born out the womb be like, yeah, E equals MC squared, then I'm doomed. No way of holding a candle to him. And during my search, I came upon an idea of nature versus nurture. But before we explain nature versus nurture, we need to truly define what the words talent and giftedness actually mean. Because are we using these words correctly, or is it just something that's been misconstrued? To give the actual definition, talent literally means natural aptitude or skill. Giftedness means having exceptional talent or natural ability. So in all actuality, the terms are used correctly. It's just the surrounding ideas around them that tend to be flawed and oftentimes just blatantly incorrect. These words are very similar in meaning, yet have an extreme variance in effect. Like if somebody calls me talented, I'm gonna be like, yo, hey, thank you. But if somebody calls me gifted, it's because being called gifted is like being called the next Albert Einstein. It's like a top 10 ego boost. Bro, if I'm gifted, that's me, bro. That's me, not you, that's me. But how does this relate to nature versus nurture? Well, both words are used in the context that someone is just outright good at birth or just born to be great at this specific thing, making them hyper successful. They both reference the real and actual idea of nature versus nurture, but fail to expand on it. To explain it simply, nature, or in correct terms, heredity, is the biological mechanism that determines what traits are transmitted to the next generation, or simply what traits you get from your parents. Then hereditability is a measure of heredity based on a certain population. So it's a statistic that says how much of what you get comes from what. I'll explain more how that ties in later. And some of the things that are hereditable, if that's a word, I think that's a word. You know what's funny is I did this entire research and did not look up if hereditable was a word. Are things like memory, attention, temperament, how easily you pick up on patterns, but not specific things like coding, playing like Call of Duty, playing Overwatch. So if you're bad at that, that's literally just on you. But moving on. This is why talent and giftedness creates a lot of misinformation about the idea of nature, because a lot of people think if they're good at tennis, if their parents are good at tennis, they gotta be good at tennis. And if they are already good at tennis, their parents are more likely good at tennis. And this bad way of thinking is where hereditability fits in. There are two types, broad sense and narrow sense, which are the two most popular ways in the science community of measuring hereditability. Both of these explanations are super weird and complicated, but hey, this is the best I could simplify them to. Broad sense is what percentage of differences in all your genes are responsible for the differences in the specific trait. Say like reaction time is that trait, based on a group of people. So all your genes, the differences between them, based in the differences between them in a certain group of people, how those genes change, if that makes sense. In narrow sense is how the variation in traits like reaction time is affected in proportion to the group of small genes depending on the traits that are passed down from parents commonly. So both of these kind of make no sense, but moving on. So you might ask, what traits have higher ability? Like what traits got high broad sense and narrow sense? And some of those are general intelligence, processing speed, working memory, attention, distractibility, and a plethora of others. Kind of like the things I said before, but the difference is those are just themed traits that can be passed on, and these are specifically heritable traits that have high percentages in either broad sense or narrow sense. How the variation in like this dude has this reaction time, this dude has this reaction time, this dude has this reaction time, and how each of that gene, well, correctly it's phenotype, how each of that phenotype changes, how their phenotype is different in that specific gene in a certain group of people, and the percentage of that. Sounds scary, right? These are all key things that affect how talented you are and I am, and it's just how successful we are in general, and it's based on our parents. Like, if your dad is dumb, oh well. But what's key in the picture is that both of these measures are statistical representations of how much your traits affect you based on the differences in a group of people. So basically, they aren't the guidebook. So it's like, imagine if they picked a bunch of smart people. They're already smart. So it's like, even if their genes are different, they're still already smart. So it's like, it's a statistics. So it's like, it isn't the factor that's like, your parents are dumb, you're destined to be stupid. Limits, but don't go start thinking that they have no factor at all. Like, you yourself can see that when somebody's parents are tall, they're more likely to be tall. Like, there's clear factors that influence that. We know that's one of those traits that has one of those high percentages in broad sense and narrow sense. But we know that they shouldn't limit you from pursuing your goals or things that you might not be talented in, to say. However, there's a key factor that people tend to overemphasize when it comes to talking about hyper-successful or talented people, and that is the idea of nurture. Nurture is the environmental influence that changes you as a person. It's something that is highly emphasized when looking at hyper-successful people. In simple terms, it's basically every single environmental factor that can influence you as a person. So that ranges from your nutrition and learning environment to your family's income and the neighborhood you live in. And these are things that can influence your entire life, from baby to grown adult. But how exactly do they affect you? Well, obviously others are more easy to understand, like say your nutrition, because if you eat healthy at a young age, obviously if you eat good, you're better physically. You're gonna be better at basketball than if you ate like Twinkies, something bad. So that's simple. But what about things like your learning environment, stress, social relationships? Well, these are much more complex. And it's because of a thing called brain plasticity, which is brain's ability to learn new things. There are certain periods in your life where your brain plasticity spikes, called critical periods. These critical periods are the first 5 years of your life and early puberty to teens. So I'm still in my critical periods, I think. Because I'm 17, so it's like I'm still going through it. So I'm still learning. So all this knowledge is in my head, it's in my noggin. And this is the time that a lot of more of these complex environment influences come to play, essentially shaping your talents, to say, as you're exposed to a plethora of them all at once through school. So like when you go to school, everything, how nice your school is, where it is, how far it is, you gotta take the bus, your friends, your social relationships, your teachers, are they good, the classes you take, your major, how the morning, like where you live, like literally everything can affect that, influence it. But why does that matter? Well, say you learn something extremely negative or outdated, like in Butt Creek, Alabama, and they're teaching you that black people all eat their own poop. Because of the fact that your brain is primed for learning, you're more likely to be like, yeah, all black people eat poop. And that's a fact. Because of the fact that you learned it when your brain was at a high plasticity. But what's good about brain plasticity is that this is the same for positive things. So say you live in a large town and you guys all learn that equality is a thing. All of you guys are gonna grow up your entire lives knowing equality is a way to go. And that can be extremely beneficial. On top of things like being kind and just learning language. Like say if you started learning coding at 3 years old because your brain's plasticity, you're gonna be better adept to learn it, making you seem like you're talented at coding. Yet this whole idea and factor opens the door to the reason why a lot of people highly emphasize this aspect when referring to talented people. And that is how socioeconomic status has such a large factor in seeing talented or gifted people. Because of statistics like how higher family income and parental education is associated with increased cognitive performance in their children. On top of that, poor families' children tend to have high rates of experiencing traumatic events, creating a cycle of talent, or correctly, a cycle of poverty. As rich kids get better education during the critical periods and poor kids don't, letting rich kids have better opportunities to explore what they might be talented in, as well as getting better jobs and just better opportunities in life. And poor kids, not so much. Further perpetuating this endless cycle. However, this is only one side of the picture. As there are many cases of people coming from small backgrounds, poor families, getting out the mud, getting through it, and being successful and hyper talented, like somebody like Lil Wayne. As even in negative situations, positive traits surface. I'm not saying that's what happened in Lil Wayne's situation, but because of the fact that like if you have to walk every day to school because your parents don't have a car, you're gonna build them walking muscles. So say you start track, you're gonna be insane at track. And also because of something called it's a crazy revolutionary idea. I'm gonna see if you know. What is it? Practice. The widely debated as a key part, surprisingly, of being at the highest level or talented in general. Because some studies point out deliberate practice is only responsible for around 20% of the difference in fields like music and other various statistics. Majority, a lot of them are like in the lower percentage, which is why it's like surprising. Yet we have phrases like 10,000 hours to mastery, though not backed, but widely believed in. All the studies prove to the fact that practice does help. So like, you need to practice. Like, it's not negotiable. It's a part of the process. You need to practice to get better because that 21% is still a 21%. And that might be all you need to be Albert Einstein or Beethoven. While it's not the full thing you need, it's definitely very necessary when it comes to becoming somebody talented. So as a breaker myself, I see so many 5 and 8 Chinese kids doing air flares and exhibiting really high level moves, and also not even like a lot of them, they can exhibit high level moves but not even be good. Like some of them are good and they exhibit high level moves and they're only been alive for like 5 years, and that's insane to me. As according to the sources I put, hopefully, they have a lot of state supported training systems after breaking was added to the Olympics for a lot of the breaking athletes, creating a great system for breaking, as well as getting world-renowned teachers from countries to train them. Furthermore, China is what's called a Confucianism heritage culture, or simply a culture heavily influenced by Confucianism, how do you say that?
Confucius.
That's not it. Confucianism, that's Confucianism.
Confucianism.
What? Confucianism? That don't feel like it's right.
Confucianism.
Okay, well, it's Confucianism. By Confucius, no, that's not how you pronounce that. Influenced by Confucianism ideals. And one of those ideals is the idea that effort and practice lead to success, and is often equated to self-improvement. So the idea of working hard is directly related to being a good student and child, which definitely could bring some like bad in things. Like if you think the only way for you to be a good student, good child is because you practice and do this, that's kind of crazy. But hey, moving on. When those same ideals are applied to breaking in combination with the state-supported breaking programs, it makes complete sense as to why you see all these 5 and 8-year-old Chinese kids doing all this crazy stuff at such a young age. As it's something that is literally morally and culturally backed approach. Like that success and effort was pumped into them when they were like 1 or 3. The 5 or 8 thing is like, that's still like insane. Like your critical period is 1 through 5. So that means they have to literally be learning it like when they're like 1. But did Albert Einstein have these same circumstances? Like what's the stitch? Albert Einstein was born in the year 1879 in Ulm, Germany, and at the same time, it was a moderately sized city. It was on the rise. He lived in a 3-story residential building in a middle-class neighborhood. His mother was a very talented and creative person, playing the piano and violin with a high level playing the piano and violin at a high level with a great education. His father, a talented mathematician at a young age, but he could never pursue higher education in that field. But he was still a very educated man, starting an electrical business with his brother that was successful throughout Einstein's formative years. So like, it failed when he was 15, but hey, formative is formative. Creating a great environment as electrical like systems and stuff like that was literally just becoming a thing as this is 1879. Like this is back in the day. Like 200, nope, that's not 200. Let me just be quiet. Furthermore, his father introduced him to a magnetic compass at the age of 4 or 5 that sparked his curiosity in science, saying, "I still remember today that this experience has left a permanent impression." And his mother also sparked his latent creativity, teaching him piano and violin at a young age, giving him a creative outlet that was said to have helped him, as he would say his scientific breakthroughs would come in, during, or after his violin sessions. This is all a part of the nurture that made him who he is. But what about what he was born with? his nature?
Well, most sources point at the fact that Albert Einstein was said spatial and geometric reasoner. Crazy thing to say about somebody's brain, but hey. It's his ability to visualize objects and relationships in space in his head. Seen in his early formative years because he used to build houses of cards, play with spatial puzzles. It's probably something simple, but it's just like a big word. And other like super smart things for little kids. Yet it was said that he was a slow speaker and did not start until late. So if you were a slow speaker, maybe you're Albert Einstein. But that's definitely false. But think about it, because as a child, he thought with pictures and shapes rather than words. So bro was literally in his brain like thinking about apples, but like cause he was thinking in apples, he couldn't say apple, which is quite crazy to me.
Albert was also quite the independent, preferring to completely understand things on a conceptual level rather than halfly like dip his toes in them. Like he was like, nah, I'm gonna need to understand this, making him the complete absolute hater of everything school related.
This learning style reflects who he was as a person, as he was seen as rebellious towards authority, which got him expelled and resulted in the teacher saying he wouldn't amount to much. On top of the fact that he was literally like, he hated everything about school. On top of his immense curiosity and introversion, making him a very well adept person to be a physical, I said physical, it says physics genius. But why is he so revolutionary? Most of us know him for E equals MC squared, or at least you've seen it before. But it was in 1905 where he truly changed the game, dropping 4 revolutionary papers that are some of the backbones of the physics we have today, which is crazy. Dropping 4 papers, like scientific papers, or things that take like months and years, and he dropped 4 of them in the same year. And on top of the fact, Albert Einstein, he wasn't even a physicist or a scientist at the point. He was unknown by most. He was a patent clerk, or like he was like a civil servant. So like
bro woke up one day and was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm gonna drop 4 revolutionary papers and change the game.
To start off, the first paper is the one that proved light is a particle, also known as the photoelectric effect. This effect is also called the photoelectric effect. This effect is responsible for our image sensors, creating digital cameras and enabling us to have solar panels as well, which is crazy, bro. Like, bro is the reason we have, like, that's crazy. And this is just one paper. One paper was on Brownian motion, which is like, I'll probably put an image of it. Brownian motion. It was a paper basically to prove whether atoms existed or not. And he was correct, which seems like an obvious fact, but
the science before that was based on the assumption that atoms existed. So since he had proved that, all of that science was proven correct, because the papers before that were based on the assumption that atoms existed, but since he had proved it, it wasn't an assumption, but a fact.
The third paper is run on relativity, which is a little too complex to simplify, but let's just say it's essential for a global positioning system, or in short terms, GPS, which is crazy. Like, bro is responsible for GPS. And lastly, the most famous paper was the mass equivalence paper, or E equals MC squared. It was responsible for fission power reactors, fission power experiments, the atomic bomb, and even PET scans, which is crazy. Like, he's one of the reasons the atomic bomb exists. Furthermore, some of these papers are foundational for the quantum physics we have today. But how could I become Albert Einstein? So basically, it's pretty simple. I would have to learn basic high school math, which I already know and I was pretty good at. I wasn't in all the super like AP classes, but still I was pretty good at math. But also, I would have to learn multivariable calculus, vector calculus, differential calculus, tensor calculus, a lot of calculus, and linear algebra, all at a high level. Then I would have to learn about physics, specifically classical mechanics, electromagnetism, thermodynamics, kinetic theory, intro to statistical mechanics, special relativity, and some of the fields that he helped pioneer, quantum mechanics and general relativity. All things I literally know about nothing about.
I estimated that the time I would need to learn all this is in around 14 years, which low-key sounds like a decent amount of time. But when you come to the realization that people go to school and go to college for 8 years and come out not Albert Einstein, then that kind of shows to the picture. Yeah, they're missing like 4 years, but still, there's people that spent their entire life on physics, yet Albert Einstein isn't popping out. Albert Einsteins aren't popping out left and right. So, do I think I could become this smart myself? Low-key, maybe. But only if I literally stopped everything I was doing right now and went to do that for the rest of my life. Potentially. But even if I did that, I probably still couldn't become Albert Einstein. Because even though I know the practice, nurture, and nature that made him who he is, there's still other parts of the picture that aren't in the puzzle, like that we don't know. So it's like, yeah, I know that he lived in Ulm, Germany, his father was this, so I could just put myself in the same environment, and then he used to study on his own, and I could do that, and then I could just practice for 14 years, all that stuff. I still might not be Albert Einstein. To get serious, after learning a lot about this topic of nature and nurture, I've come to the realization that I do not think talent really exists. I feel like talent really exists in the sense that it's like something that you're born to do. I feel like it's something that you're rather like that you choosing to make you made for, if that makes sense. So Albert Einstein is a very intelligent and creative person. So I feel like he could use that mind for other things besides physics, but based on where he lived, his family, like just how he grew up and his own personal interests, that thing he chose to do was physics. So do I think I'm talented? No. I think I made myself pursue the things that called me. So if you like this video, like, comment, and please subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one. I know this one is super late. I'll probably put it in the caption. I know this one was super late, but please, bro, I'm sorry. It took me 3 days to edit this. It's 23 minutes long. I don't know if it's 23 minutes long, but it was long. So I probably won't do a video this long again. It'll probably definitely be shorter than that because I can make it better quality too. But hey,